The Mule-Bone. By Langston Hughes. Characters: Jim Weston, guitarist, Methodist, slightly arrogant, aggressive, somewhat self-important, ready with his tongue. Dave Carter, dancer, Baptist, soft, happy-go-lucky character, slightly dumb and unable to talk rapidly and wittily. Daisy Taylor, Methodist, domestic servant, plump, dark and sexy, self-conscious of clothes and appeal, fickle. Joe Clarke, the mayor, storekeeper and postmaster, arrogant, ignorant and powerful in a self-assertive way, large, fat man, Methodist. Elder Sims, Methodist minister, newcomer in town, ambitious, small and fly, but not very intelligent. Elder Childers, big, loose-jointed, slow-spoken but not dumb. Long resident in the town, calm and sure of himself. Katie Carter, Dave's aunt, little old wizened dried-up lady. Mrs. Hattie Clarke, the mayor's wife, fat and flabby mulatto high-pitched voice. The Mrs. Reverend Sims, large and aggressive. The Mrs. Reverend Childers, just a wife who thinks of details. Lum Boger, young town marshal about 20, tall, gangly, with big flat feet, like to show off in public. Teet Miller, village vamp who is jealous of Daisy. Ligay Mosley, a village wag. Walter Thomas, another village wag. Ada Lewis, a promiscuous lover. Della Lewis, Baptist, poor housekeeper, mother of Ada. Bootsy Pitts, a local vamp. Mrs. Dilsey Anderson, village housewife, Methodist. Willie Nixon, Methodist, short runt. How do you find this book? Any thoughts about the book or the author? Any suggestion for improvement? Please take a moment to share your thoughts in a comment. If you like it, share it with your friends who might enjoy it as well. Subscribe to keep in touch. Visit CompleteAudiobooks.com for more quality content. The Mule-Bone, a Comedy of Negro Life in 3 acts. Act. Chapter 1. Setting: the raised porch of Joe Clarke's store and the street in front. Porch stretches almost completely across the stage, with a plank bench at either end. At the center of the porch 3 steps leading from street. Rear of porch, center, door to the store. On either side are single windows on which signs, at left, post office, and at right, general store, are painted. Soap boxes, axe handles, small kegs, etc. On porch on which townspeople sit and lounge during action. Above the roof of the porch the false front, or imitation second story of the shop is seen with large sign painted across it, Joe Clarke's General Store. Large kerosene street lamp on post at right in front of porch. Saturday afternoon and the villagers are gathered around the store. Several men sitting on boxes at edge of porch chewing sugarcane, spitting tobacco juice, arguing, some whittling, others eating peanuts. During the act the women all dressed up in starched dresses parade in and out of store. People buying groceries, kids playing in the street, etc. General noise of conversation, laughter and children shouting. But when the curtain rises there is momentary lull for cane chewing. At left of porch 4 men are playing cards on a soap box, and seated on the edge of the porch at extreme right 2 children are engaged in a checker game, with the board on the floor between them. When the curtain goes up the following characters are discovered on the porch: Mayor Joe Clarke, the storekeeper, Deacon Hambo, Deacon Goodwin, Old Man Matt Brazel, Will Cody, Sykes Jones. Lum Boger, the young town marshal, Ligay Mosley and Walter Thomas, 2 village wags, Tom Nixon and Sam Mosley, and several others, seated on boxes, kegs, benches and floor of the porch. Tony Taylor is sitting on steps of porch with empty basket. Mrs. Taylor comes out with her arms full of groceries, empties them into basket and goes back in store. All the men are chewing sugarcane earnestly with varying facial expressions. The noise of the breaking and sucking of cane can be clearly heard in the silence. Occasionally the laughter and shouting of children is heard nearby off stage. Hambo. To Brazel. Say, Matt, gimme a jint or two of dat green cane, dis ribbon cane is hard. Legay. Yeah, and you ain't got de cheers in yo parlor you useter have. Hambo. Dat's all right, Legay, but I bet you right now wid dese few teeth I got I kin eat up more cane and you kin grow. Legay. I know you kin and that's the reason I ain't going to tempt you. But you's gettin' old in lots of ways, look at dat bald head, just as clean as my hand. Exposes his palm. Hambo. Don't keer if it 'tis, I don't want nothin', not even hair, between me and God. General laughter, Legay joins in as well. Cane chewing keeps up. Silence for a moment. Voice. Off stage a high shrill voice can be heard calling, Sister Mosley, oh, Sister Mosley. A pause. Ms. Mosley. Very irritated. Oh, Sister Mattie. You hear me out here, you just won't answer. Voice of Mrs. Mosley. Hooey, somebody calling me? Voice of Mrs. Roberts. Angrily. Never mind now, you couldn't come when I called you. I don't want yo lil ol' Weasley turnip greens. Silence. Matt Brazel. Sister Roberts is en town agin. If she was mine, I'll be hen-fired if I wouldn't break her down in de lines one, good as dat man is to her. Hambo. I wish she was mine jes' one day, de first time she open her mouth to beg anybody, I'd lam her wid lightning. Joe Clarke. I God, Jake Roberts buys mo rations out dis store than any man in dis town. I don't see to my maker what she do wid it all. Here she come. Enter Mrs. Jake Roberts, a heavy light brown woman with a basket on her arm. A boy about 10 walks beside her carrying a small child about a year-old straddle of his back. Her skirts are sweeping the ground. She walks up to the step, puts one foot upon the steps and looks forlornly at all the men, then fixes her look on Joe Clarke. Mrs. Roberts. Evenin', Brother Mayor. Clarke. Howdy do, Mrs. Roberts. How's yo' husband? Mrs. Roberts. Beginning her professional whine, he ain't much and I ain't much and my chillun is Polly. We ain't got 'nuff to eat. Lawd, Mr. Clarke, gimme a lil piece of side meat to cook us a pot of greens. Clarke. Ah gwan, Sister Roberts. You got plenty bacon home. Last week Jake bought. Mrs. Roberts. Frantically. Lawd, Mist, Clarke, how long you think dat lil piece of meat last me and my chillun? Lawd, me and my chillun is hungry. God knows, Jake don't feed me. Mr. Clarke sits unmoved. Mrs. Roberts advances upon him. Mrs. Roberts. Mist, Clarke. Clarke. I God, woman, don't keep on after me. Every time I look, you's round here beggin' for everything you see. Legay. And what she don't see she whoops for it just the same. Mrs. Roberts. In dramatic begging pose. Mist, Clarke. Ain't you boin' do nothin' for me? And you see me and my poor chillun is starvin'. Clarke. Exasperated rises. I God, woman, a man can't get no peace with somebody like you in town. He goes angrily into the store followed by Mrs. Roberts. The boy sits down on the edge of the porch sucking the baby's thumb. Voice of Mrs. Roberts. A piece 'bout dis wide. Voice of Clarke. I God, nah. Yo, husband done bought you plenty meat, nohow. Voice of Mrs. Roberts. In great anguish. Ow. Mist, Clarke. Don't you cut dat lil teeninchy piece of meat for me and my chillun. Sound of running feet inside the store. I ain't a-going to tetch it. Voice of Clarke. Well, don't touch it then. That's all you'll get out of me. Voice of Mrs. Roberts. Calmer. Well, hand it cheer den. Lawd, me and my chillin' is so hungry. Jake don't feed me. She re-enters by door of store with the slab of meat in her hand and an outraged look on her face. She gazes all about her for sympathy. Lord, me and my poor chillin' is so hungry, and some folks has everything and they so stingy and gripin'. Lord knows, Jake don't feed me. She exits right on this line, followed by the boy with the baby on his back. All the men gaze behind her, then at each other and shake their heads. Hambo. Poor Jake. I'm really sorry for dat man. If she was mine I'd beat her till her ears hung down like a Georgie mule. Walter Thomas. I'd beat her till she smell like onions. Legay. I'd romp on her till she slack like lime. Nixon. I'd stomp her till she rope like okra. Voice of Mrs. Roberts. Off stage right. Lord, Ms. Lewis, you goin' give me dat lil handful of greens for me and my chillin'. Why dat ain't a eyeful. I ought not to take but me and my chillin' is so hungry. Some folks is so stingy and gripin'. Lord knows, Tony don't feed me. The noise of cane chewing is heard again. Enter Joe Lindsay left with a gun over his shoulder and the large leg bone of a mule in the other hand. He approaches the step wearily. Hambo. Well, did you get any partridges, Joe? Joe. Resting his gun and seating himself. Nope, but I made the feathers fly. Hambo. I don't see no birds. Joe. Oh, the feathers flew off on the birds. Legay. I don't see nothin' but dat bone. Look like you done kilt a cow and eat him raw out in the woods. Joe. Don't y'all know dat hawk bone? Walter. How you reckon we goin' ter know every hawk bone in Orange County sight unseen? Joe. Standing the bone up on the floor of the porch. Dis is a hawk bone of Brazel's ol' yaller mule. General pleased interest. Everybody wants to touch it. Brazel. Coming forward. Well, sir. Takes bone in both hands and looks up and down the length of it. If 'tain't my ol' mule. This show was one hell of a mule, too. He'd fight every inch in front of the plow, he'd turn over the mowing machine, run away with the wagon, and you better not look like you want to ride him. Lindsay. Laughing. Yeah, I 'member seein' you comin' down the road just so. He limps with one hand on his buttocks one day. Brazel. Dis mule was so evil he used to try to bite and kick when I'd go in the stable to feed him. Walter. He was too mean to get fat. He was so skinny you could do a week's washing on his ribs for a washboard and hang 'em up on his hip bones to dry. Legay. I 'member one day, Brazel, you sent yo' boy to Winter Park after some groceries wid a basket. So here he went down the road ridin' dis mule wid dis basket on his arm. What you reckon dat ol' contrary mule done when he got to dat crooked place in the road going round Park Lake? He turned right round and went through the handle of dat basket, wid the boy still up on his back. General laughter. Brazel. Yeah. He up and died one Saturday just for spite, but he was too contrary to lay down on his side like a mule ortayer and die decent. Nah, he made out to lay down on his narrer contracted back and die with his feet sticking straight up in the air just so. He gets down on his back and illustrates. We drug him out to the swamp wid him dat way, didn't we, Hambo? Joe Clarke. I God, Brazel, we all seen it. Didn't we all go to the dragon out? More folks went to yo' mule's dragon out than went to last school closing. Bet there ain't been a thing right in mule hell for 4 years. Hambo. Been dat long since he been dead? Clarke. I God, yes. He died the week after I started to cutting dat new ground. The bone is passing from hand to hand. At last a boy about 12 takes it. He has just walked up and is proudly handling the bone when a woman's voice is heard off stage right. Voice. Senator. Senator. Oh, you senator? Boy. Turning displeased mutters. Ah, shucks. Loudly. Ma'am? Voice. If you don't come here you better. Senator. Yes ma'am. He drops bone on ground down stage and trots off frowning. Soon as we men get to doing something dece vim men. Exits, right. Enter Teat and Bootsy left, clean and primped in voile dresses just alike. They speak diffidently and enter store. The men admire them casually. Legay. Them girls done turned out to be right good looking. Walter. Teat ain't as pretty now as she was a few years back. She used to be fat as a butterball with legs just like 2 whiskey kegs. She's too skinny since she got her growth. Cody. Ain't none of em pretty as dat Miss Daisy. God. She's pretty as a speckled pup. Legay. But she was shown 'nuff ugly when she was little ol' hard black knot. She show has changed since she been away up north. If she ain't pretty now, there ain't a hound dog in Georgie. Re-enter Senator Bailey and stops on the steps. He addresses Joe Clarke. Senator. Mist Clarke. Hambo. To Senator. Ain't you got no manners? We all didn't sleep with you last night. Senator. Embarrassed. Good evening, everybody. All the men. Good evening, son, boy, senator, etc. Senator. Mist Clarke, Mama said is Daisy been here dis evenin'? Joe Clarke. Ain't laid my eyes on her. Ain't she working over in Maitland? Senator. Yes Sue, but she's off today and Mama sent her down here to get the groceries. Joe Clarke. Well, tell yo, Ma I ain't seen her. Senator. Well, she say to tell you when she come, to tell her Ma say she better get home and dat quick. Joe Clarke. I will. Exit boy right. Legay. Bet she's off somewhere with Dave or Jim. Walter. I don't bet it. I know it. She's got them 2 in to go long. Re-enter Teat and Bootsy from store. Teat has a letter and Bootsy 2 or 3 small parcels. The men look up with interest as they come out on the porch. Walter. Winking. What's dat you got, Teat? Letter from Dave. Teat. Flouncing. Nah indeed. It's a letter from my bit sweetie. Rolls her eyes and hips. Walter. Winking. Well, ain't Dave yo bit sweetie? I thought y'all was 'bout to get married. Everywhere I looked dis summer, 'twas you and Dave, Bootsy, and Jim. I thought all of y'all would have done jumped over the broomstick by now. Teat. Flourishing letter. Don't tell it to me, tell it to the ever-loving Mr. Albert Johnson way over in Apopka. Bootsy. Rolling her eyes. Oh, tell about the ever-loving Mr. Jimmy Cox from Altamont. Oh, I can't stand to see my baby lose. Hambo. It's lucky y'all girls done got some more fellers, 'cause look like Daisy done treed both Jim and Dave at once, or they done treed here one. Teat. Let her have nobody don't care. They don't handle in God we trust, lack my Johnson. He's head bellman at the hotel. Bootsy. Mr. Cox got money's grandma and old grandpa change. The girls exit huffily. Lindsay. To Hambo, pseudo-seriously. You oughtn't tease dem gals lak dat. Hambo. Oh, I locks to see gals all mad. But dem boys is crazy show nuff. Before Daisy come back here they both had a good-looking gal apiece. Now they 'bout to fall out and fight over half a gal apiece. Neither one won't give over and let the other one have her. Ligue. And she ain't thinking too much 'bout no one man. Looks off left. Here she come now. God. She got a mean walk on her. Walter. Yeah, man. She handles a lot of traffic. Oh, mama, throw it in the river, Pop'll come get it. Lindsay. Ah, shut up, you married men. Ligue. Man don't go blind 'cause he gets married, do he? Enter Daisy hurriedly. Stops at step a moment. She is dressed in sheer organdie, white shoes and stockings. Daisy. Good evening, everybody. Walks up on the porch. All the men. Very pleasantly. Good evening, Miss Daisy. Daisy. To Clarke. Mama sent me after some meal and flour and some bacon and sausage oil. Clarke. Senator been here long time ago hunting you. Daisy. Frightened. Did he? Ooh. Mist, Clarke, hurry up and fix it for me. She starts on in the store. Lindsay. Giving her his seat. You better wait here, Daisy. Walter kicks Ligue to call his attention to Lindsay's attitude. Lindsay. It's powerful hot in dat store. Lemme run fetch out to you. Ligue. To Lindsay. Run. Joe Lindsay, you ain't been able to run since the big bell rung. Look at dat gray beard. Lindsay. Thank God, I ain't gray all over. I'm just as good a man right now as any of you young UNS. He hurries on into the store. Walter. Daisy, where's yo 2 bodyguards? It don't look natural to see you 'thout nary one of them. Daisy. Archly. I ain't got no bodyguards. I don't know what you talkin' about. Ligue. Ah, Don, try to come dat over us, Daisy. You know who we talkin' about all right, but if you want me to come out flat-footed, where's Jim and Dave? Daisy. Ain't they playin' somewhere for the white folks? Ligue. To Walter. Will you listen at dis gal, Walter? To Daisy. When I ain't been long seen you and Dave going down to the lake. Daisy. Frightened. Don't y'all run tell mama where I been. Walter. Well, you tell us which one you locks de best and we'll wipe our mouth gesture and say nothin'. Dem boys been de best of friends all they life, till both of em took after you, then goodbye, Katy bar de door. Daisy. Affected innocence. Ain't they still playin' and dancin' together? Ligue. Yeah, but that's 'bout all they do 'gree on these days. That's the way it is wid men, young and old. I don't keer how long they been friends and how thick they been, a woman kin come between em. David and Jonathan never would have been friends so long if Jonathan had have been any great hand wid de vim men. You ain't never seen no 2 roosters that likes one another. Daisy. I ain't tried to break em up. Walter. Course you ain't. You don't have to. All 2 boys need to do is to get stuck on the same girl and they done broke up, right now. Vim men is something can't be divided equal. Re-enter Joe Lindsay and Clarke with the groceries. Daisy jumps up and grabs the packages. Ligue. To Daisy. Want some of us, me, to go long and tote yo things for you? Daisy. Nervously. Nah, mama is riding her high horse today. Long as I been gone it wouldn't do for me to come walking up with nobody. She exits hurriedly right. All the men watch her out of sight in silence. Clarke. Sighing. I God, know what Daisy puts me in the mind of. Hambo. No, what? They all lean together. Clarke. I God, a great big mango, a sweet smell, you know, with a strong flavor, but not something you could mash up like a strawberry. Something with a body to it. General laughter, but not obscene. Hambo. Admiringly. Joe Clarke. I didn't know you had it in you. Mrs. Clarke enters from store door and they all straighten up guiltily. Clarke. Angrily to his wife. Now what do you want? I God, the minute I set down, here you come. Mrs. Clarke. Somebody want a stamp, Jody. You know you don't low me to bove wid the post office. He rises sullenly and goes inside the store. Brazel. Say, Hambo, I didn't see you at our Sunday school picnic. Hambo. Slicing some plug-cut tobacco. Nope, want there dis time. Walter. Loca here, Hambo. Y'all Baptist carry dis close communion business too far. If a person ain't half drowned dead in the lake and half et up by alligators, y'all think he ain't baptized, so you can't take communion with him. Now I reckon you can't even drink lemonade and eat chicken perlo with us. Hambo. My lord, boy, you's just full of words. Now, in the first place, if this year's picnic was like the one y'all had last year, you ain't had no lemonade for us Baptists to turn down. You had a big old barrel of rain water with about a pound of sugar in it and one lemon cut up over the top of it. Ligue. Man, you show kin mold them. Walter. Well, I went to the Baptist picnic with my mouth all set to eat chicken, when lo and behold y'all had chitlins. Do Jesus. Lindsay. Hold on there a minute. There was plenty chicken at dat picnic, which I do know is right. Walter. Only chicken I seen was half a chicken yo, pastor musta tried to swaller whole cause he was choked stiff as a board when I come long, with the whole deacon's board beating him in the back. Trying to knock it out his throat. Ligue. Say, dat puts me in the mind of a Baptist brother that was crazy bout the preachers and the preacher was crazy bout feeding his face. So his son got tired of trying to beat dese stump knockers to the grub on the table, so one day he throwed out some slams bout dese preachers. Dat made his old man mad, so he told his son to get out. He boy asked him, where must I go, papa? He says, go on to hell I reckon. I don't care where you go. So the boy left and was gone 7 years. He come back one cold, windy night and rapped on the door. Who dat? The old man asked him. It's me, Jack. The old man opened the door, so glad to see his son again, and told Jack to come in. He did and looked all round the place. 7 or 8 preachers was sitting round the fire eatin' and drinkin'. Where you been all dis time, Jack? The old man asked him. I been to hell, Jack told him. Tell us how it is down there, Jack. Well, he says, it's just like it is here, you can't get to the fire for the preachers. Hambo. Boy, you kin lie just like the crossties from Jacksonville to Key West. The president elder must come round on his circuit teaching y'all how to tell 'cause you couldn't lie dat good just natural. Walter. Can't nobody beat Baptist folks lying, and I ain't never found out how come you think you's so important. Lindsay. Ain't we got the finest and the biggest church? Macedonia Baptist will hold more folks than any 2 buildings in town. Ligue. That's right, y'all got a heap more church than you got members to go in it. Hambo. That's all right, y'all ain't got neither the church nor the members. Everything that's had in this town got to be held in our church. Re-enter Joe Clarke. Clarke. What you all talkin'? Hambo. Come on out, tush hog, lemme beat you some checkers. I'm tired of fending and proving with dese boys ain't got no hair on they chest yet. Clarke. I God, you mean you goin' ter get beat? You can't handle me. I'm a tush hog. Hambo. Well, I'm going to draw dem tushes right now. To 2 small boys using checkerboard on edge of porch. Here you chillins, let the mayor and me have that board. Go on out and play and give us grown folks a little peace. The children go down stage and call out. Small boy. Hey, Senator. Hey, Marthy. Come on, let's play chick me, cranny crow. Child's voice. Off stage. All right. Come on, Jesse. Enter several children, led by Senator, and a game begins in front of the store as Joe Clarke and Hambo play checkers. Joe Clarke. I God. Hambo, you can't play no checkers. Hambo. As they seat themselves at the checkerboard. Ah, man, if you wasn't the mayor I'd beat you all the time. The children get louder and louder, drowning out the men's voices. Small girl. I'm goin' ter be the hen. Boy. And I'm goin' ter be the hawk. Lemme get myself a stick to mark wid. The boy who is the hawk squats center stage with a short twig in his hand. The largest girl lines up the other children behind her. Girl. Mother hen. Looking back over her flock, y'all catch holt of one another's clothes so the hawk can't get ya. They do. You all straight now? Children. Yeah. The march around the hawk commences. Hen and chicks. Chick ma cranny crow. Went to the well to wash ma toe. When I come back ma chick was gone. What time, ol' witch? Hawk. Making a tally on the ground. 1. Hen and chicks. Repeat song and march. Hawk. Scoring again. 2. Can be repeated any number of times. Hawk. 4. He rises and imitates a hawk flying and trying to catch a chicken. Calling in a high voice, chickie. Hen. Flapping wings to protect her young. My chickens sleep. Hawk. Chickie. During all this the hawk is fainting and darting in his efforts to catch a chicken, and the chickens are dancing defensively, the hen trying to protect them. Hen. My chickens sleep. Hawk. I shall have a chick. Hen. You shan't have a chick. Hawk. I'm goin' home. Flies off. Hen. Dear's the road. Hawk. My pot's a boilin'. Hen. Let it boil. Hawk. My gut's a growlin'. Hen. Let 'em growl. Hawk. I must have a chick. Hen. You shan't have an airn. Hawk. My mama's sick. Hen. Let her die. Hawk. Chickie. Hen. My chickens sleep. Hawk darts quickly around the hen and grabs a chicken and leads him off and places his captive on his knees at the store porch. After a brief bit of dancing he catches another, then a third, etc. Hambo. At the checkerboard, his voice rising above the noise of the playing children, slapping his sides jubilantly. Ha! Ha! I got you now. Go ahead on and move, Joe Clarke, just go ahead on and move. Loungers. Standing around 2 checker players. OL Deacon's got you now. Another voice. Don't see how he can beat the mayor like that. Another voice. Got him in the Louisville loop. These remarks are drowned by the laughter of the playing children directly in front of the porch. Mayor Joe Clarke, disturbed in his concentration on the checkers and peeved at being beaten, suddenly turns toward the children, throwing up his hands. Clarke. Get on away from here, you limbs of Satan, making all that racket so a man can't hear his ears. Go on, go on. The mayor looks about excitedly for the town marshal. Seeing him playing cards on the other side of porch, he bellows, Lum Boger, why'n't you get these kids away from here? What kind of a marshal is you? All this passel of young'uns around here under grown people's feet, creatine disorder in front of my store. Lum Boger puts his cards down lazily, comes down stage and scatters the children away. One saucy little girl refuses to move. Lum Boger. Why'n't you go on away from here, Matilda? Didn't you hear me tell you all to move? Little Matilda. Defiantly. I ain't goin' nowhere. You ain't none of my mama. Jerking herself free from him as Lum touches her. My mama in the store and she told me to wait out here. So take that, Lum. Lum Boger. You impudent little hussy, you. You must smell yourself, you's so fresh. Matilda. The wind musta changed and you smell your own top lip. Lum Boger. Don't make me have to grab you and take you down a buttonhole lower. Matilda. Switching her little head. Go ahead on and grab me. You sho can't kill me, and if you kill me, you sho can't eat me. She marches into the store. Senator. Derisively from behind stump. Dumb Lum. Hey. Hey. Little boy at edge of stage thumbs his nose at the marshal. Lum lumbers after the small boy. Both exit. Hambo. To Clarke, who has been thinking all this while what move to make. You ain't got but one move, go ahead on and make it. What's the matter, Mayor? Clarke. Moving his checker. Here. Hambo. Triumphant. Now. Look at him, boys. I'm gonna laugh in notes. Laughing to the scale and jumping a checker each time. Do, sol, fa, mi, lo, 1. Jumping another checker. La, sol, fa, mi, do, 2. Another jump. Do, sol, re, mi, lo, 3. Jumping a third. Lo, sol, fa, mi, re, 4. The crowd begins to roar with laughter. Lum Boger returns, looking on. Children come drifting back again playing Chick me cranny crow. Voice. Oh, ha. Done got the tush hog. Another voice. Thought you couldn't be beat, brother Mayor? Clarke. Peeved, gets up and goes into the store mumbling. Oh, I coulda beat you if I didn't have this store on my mind. Saturday afternoon and I got work to do. Lum, ain't I told you to keep them kids from playin' right in front of this store? Lum makes a pass at the nearest half-grown boy. The kids dart around him teasingly. Another voice. Ha. Hambo done run him on his store, done run the coon in his hole. Another voice. That ain't good politics, Hambo, beaten the mayor. Another voice. Well, Hambo, you don't got to be so hard at checkers, come on let's see what you can do with the cards. Lum Boger there got his hands full nursin' the chillins. Another voice. At the table. We ain't playin' for money, nohow, deacon. We just playin' a little Florida flip. Hambo. Ya all can't play no Florida flip. When I was a sinner there wasn't a man in this state could beat me playin' that game. But I'm a deacon in Macedonia Baptist now and I don't bother with the cards no more. Voice at card table. All right, then, come on here Tony. To man with basket on steps. Let me catch your jack. Taylor. Looking toward door. I don't reckon I got time. I guess my wife gonna get through buying out that store sometime or other and want to go home. Old man. On opposite side of porch from card game. I bet my wife would know better than expect me to sit around and wait for her with a basket. Why'n't you tell her to tote it on home herself? Taylor. Sighing and shaking his head. Lord. Voice at card table. Look like we can't get nobody to come into this game. Seem like everybody's scared of us. Come on back here, Lum, and take your hand. Lum makes a final futile gesture at the children. Lum. Ain't I told you little Haitians to stay away from here? Children scatter teasingly only to return to their play in front of the store later on. Lum comes up on the porch and rejoins the card game. Just as he gets seated, Mrs. Clarke comes to the door of the store and calls him. Mrs. Clarke. Drawlingly. Columbus. Lum. Wearily. Ma'am? Mrs. Clarke. De mayor say for you to go round in de backyard and tie up old lady Jackson's mule what's trampin' up all de tomatoes in my garden. Lum. All right. Leaving card game. Wait till I come back, folkses. Ligue. Oh, hum. Yawning and putting down the deck of cards. Lum's show a busy marshal. Say, ain't Dave and Jim been round here yet? I feel kinder like hearin' a little music 'bout now. Boy. Nah, they ain't been here today. You all know they ain't so thick nohow as they was since Daisy Bailey come back and they started runnin' after her. Woman. You mean since she started runnin' after them, the young hussy. Mrs. Clarke. In doorway. She don't mean no good. Walter. That's a shame, ain't it now? Enter Lum from around back of store. He jumps on the porch and takes his place at the card box. Lum. To the waiting players. All right, boys. Turn it on and let the bad luck happen. Ligue. My deal. He begins shuffling the cards with an elaborate fan-shape movement. Voice at table. Look out there, Ligue, you shuffling mighty lot. Don't carry the cub to us. Ligue. Ah, we ain't gonna cheat you, we gonna beat you. He slams down the cards for Lum Boger to cut. Want to cut, Lum. No, ain't no need of cutting a rabbit out when you can twist him out. Deal, Ligue deals out the cards. Clarke's voice. Inside the store. You, Matty. Mrs. Clarke, who has been standing in the door, quickly turns and goes inside. Ligue. Yeee. Spades. The game is started. Lum. Didn't snatch that jack, did you? Ligue. Ah, no, ain't snatched no jack. Play. Walter. Lum's partner. Well, here it is, partner. What you want me to play for you? Lum. Play just like I'm in New York, partner. But we gotta try to catch that jack. Ligue. Threateningly. Stick out your hand and draw back a nub. Walter Thomas plays. Walter. I'm playin' a diamond for you, partner. Lum. I done tole you you ain't got no partner. Ligue. Ha, ha. Partner, we got Pull off with your king. They got to play When that trick is turned, triumphantly, didn't I tell you, partner? Stands on his feet and slams down with his ace violently. Now, come up under this ace. Ah, ha, look at low, partner. I knew I was gonna catch When Lum plays. Ho, ho, there goes the queen. Now, the jack's a gentleman. Now, I'm playin' my knots. Everybody plays and the hand is ended. Partner, high, low, jack and the game and 4. Walter. Give me them cards. I believe you all done give me the cub that time. Look at me, this is Booker T. Washington dealing these cards. Shuffles cards grandly and gives them to Ligue to cut. Want to cut, Ligue. Yeah, cut, and shoot, I'd cut behind my ma. He cuts the cards. Walter. Turning to player at left, Frank, Ligue's partner. What you saying, Frank? Frank. I'm beggin'. Ligue is trying to peep at cards. Walter. Turning to Ligue. Stop peepin' at them cards, Ligue. To Frank. Did you say you was beggin' or standin'? Frank. I'm beggin'. Walter. Get up off your knees. Go ahead and tell Em I sent you. Frank. Well, that makes us 4. Walter. I don't care if you is. Pulls a quarter out of his pocket and lays it down on the box. 25 cents says I know the best one. Let's go. Everybody puts down a quarter. Frank. What you want me to play for you, partner? Ligue. Play me a club. The play goes around to dealer, Walter, who gets up and takes the card off the top of the deck and slams it down on the table. Walter. Get up ol deuce of demons and gallop off with your load. To Lum. Partner, how many times you seen the deck? Lum. 2 times. Walter. Well, then I'm gonna pull off, partner. Watch this ol, queen. Everyone plays. Ha. Ha. Wash day and no soap. Takes the jack of diamonds and sticks him up on his forehead. Stands up on his feet. Partner, I'm dumping to you, play your king. When it comes to his play Lum, too, stands up. The others get up and they, too, excitedly slam their cards down. Now, come on in this kitchen and let me splice that cabbage. He slams down the ace of diamonds. Pats the jack on his forehead, sings, hey, hey, back up, Jenny, get your load. Talking. Dump to that jack, boys, dump to it. High, low, jack and the game and 4. 1 to go. We're 4 wid you, boys. Ligue. Yeah, but you all playin' catch up. Frank. Gimme them cards, lemme deal some. Ligue. Frank, now you really got responsibility on you. They's got 1 game on us. Frank. Ah, man, I'm gonna deal em up a mess. This deal's in the White House. He shuffles and puts the cards down for Walter to cut. Cut em. Walter. Nope, I never cut green timber. Frank deals and turns the card up. Frank. Hearts, boys. He turns up an ace. Lum. Ah, you snatched that ace, nigger. Walter. Yeah, they done carried the cub to us, partner. Ligue. Oh, he didn't do no such a thing. That ace was turned fair. We just too hard for you, we eats our dinner out of the blacksmith shop. Walter. Ah, you all cheatin'. You know it wasn't fair. Frank. Ah, shut up, you all just hoopin' and hollerin' for nothin'. Tryin' to bully the game. Frank and Ligue rise and shake hands grandly. Ligue. Mr. Hoover, you show is a noble president. We done stuck these niggers full of cobs. They done got scared to play us. Ligue? Scared to play you? Get back down to this table, let me spread my mess. Lounger. Yonder comes Elder Sims. You all better squat that rabbit. They'll be having you all up in the church for playin' cards. Frank grabs up the cards and puts them in his pocket quickly. Everybody picks up the money and looks unconcerned as the preacher enters. Enter Elder Sims with his 2 prim-looking little children by the hand. Elder Sims. How do, children? Right warm for this time in November, ain't it? Voice. Yes sir, Reverend, show is. How's Sister Sims? Sims. She's feelin' kinda pulley today. Goes on in store with his children. Voice. Whispering loudly. Don't see how that great big ol' powerful woman could be sick. Look like she could go bear huntin' with her fist. Another voice. She look just as good as you all's Baptist pastor's wife. Shaw, you ain't seen no big woman, nohow, man. I seen one once so big she went to whip her little boy and he run up under her belly and hid 6 months 'fore she could find him. Another voice. Well, I knowed a woman so little that she had to get up on a soapbox to look over a grain of sand. Rev. Sims comes out of store, each child behind him sucking a stick of candy. Sims. To his children. Run on home to your mother and don't get dirty on the way. The two children start primly off down the street, but just out of sight one of them utters a loud cry. Sims's child. Off stage. Papa, Papa. Nunk is trying to lick my candy. Sims. I told you to go on and leave them other children alone. Voice on porch. Kidding. Whan't you tend to your business. Town marshal rises and shoos the children off again. You all varmints leave them nice chillin' alone. Ligay. Continuing the lying on porch. Well, you all done seen so much, but I bet you ain't never seen a snake as big as the one I saw when I was a boy up in Middle Georgia. He was so big couldn't hardly move hisself. He laid in one spot so long he growed moss on him and everybody thought he was a log, till one day I set down on him and went to sleep, and when I woke up that snake done crawled to Florida. Loud laughter. Frank. Seriously. Layin' all jokes aside though now, you all remember that rattlesnake I killed last year was almost as big as that Georgia snake. Voice. How big, you say it was, Frank? Frank. Maybe not quite as big as that, but just about 14 feet. Voice. Derisively. Gimme that lion, snake. That snake wasn't but 4 foot long when you killed him last year and you done growed him 10 feet in a year. Another voice. Well, I don't know about that. Some of the snakes around here is powerful long. I went out in my front yard yesterday right after the rain and killed a great big cottonmouth. Sims. This show is a snake town. I certainly can't raise no chickens for them. They kill my little biddies just as fast as they hatch out. And yes, if I hadn't cut them weeds out of the street in front of my parsonage, me or some of my folks would have been snake bit right at our front door. To whole crowd. Whan't you all cut down these weeds and clean up these streets? Hambo. Well, the mayor ain't said nothin' 'bout it. Sims. When the folks misbehaves in this town I think they oughta lock 'em up in a jail and make 'em work their fine out on the streets, then these weeds would be cut down. Voice. How we gonna do that when we ain't got no jail? Sims. Well, you show needs a jail, you all needs a whole lot of improvements round this town. I ain't never pastored no town so way back as this one here. Clarke. Who has lately emerged from the store, fanning himself, overhears this last remark and bristles up. What's that you say about this town? Sims. I say we need some improvements here in this town, that's what. Clarke. In a powerful voice. And what improvements you figures we needs? Sims. A whole heap. Now, for one thing we really does need a jail, Mayor. We oughta stop runnin' these people out of town that misbehaves, and lock 'em up. Others towns has jails, every town I ever pastored had a jail. Don't see how come we can't have one. Clarke. Towering angrily above the preacher. Now, wait a minute, Sims. Don't you reckon the man who knows how to start a town knows how to run it? I paid $200 out of this right hand for this land and walked out here and started this town befo' you was born. I ain't like some of you new niggers, come here when grapes ripe. I was here to cut new ground, and I been mayor ever since. Sims. Well, there ain't no sense in no one man stayin' mayor all the time. Clarke. Well, it's my town and I can be mayor just as long as I want to. It was me that put this town on the map. Sims. What map you put it on, Joe Clarke? I ain't seen it on no map. Clarke. Indignant. I God. Listen here, Elder Sims. If you don't like the way I run this town, just take your flat feets right on out and git yonder crost the woods. You ain't been here long enough to say nothin' nohow. Hambo. From a nail keg. Yeah, you Methodist niggers always telling people how to run things. Taylor. Practically unheard by the others. We do so know how to run things, don't we? Ain't Brother Mayor a Methodist, and ain't the schoolteacher a? His remarks are drowned out by the others. Sims. No, we don't like the way you're runnin' things. Now Loka here, pointing at the marshal, you got that lazy lum boger here for marshal and he ain't old enough to be dry behind his ears yet, and all these able-bodied means in this town. You won't loan nobody else to run a store, ceptin you. And Loka yonder happening to notice the street light only street lamp in town, you got in front of your place. Indignantly. We pay the taxes and you got the lamp. Villager. Don't you all fuss now. How come you two always yam-yamming at each other? Clarke. How come this fly-by-night Methodist preacher over here, ain't been here 3 months, tries to stand up on my store porch and tries to tell me how to run my town? Mattie Clarke, the mayor's wife, comes timidly to the door, wiping her hands on her apron. Ain't no man gonna tell me how to run my town. I lect myself in and I'm gonna run it. Turns and sees wife standing in door. Commandingly. Mattie, get on back in there and wait on that store. Mattie. Timidly. Jody, somebody else wantin' stamps. Clarke. Woman, what good is you? Gwan, get in. Look like between women and preachers a man can't have no peace. Exit Clarke. Sims. Continuing his argument. Now, when I pastored in Jacksonville you oughta see what kinda jails they got there. Lounger. White folks needs jails. We colored folks don't need no jail. Another villager. Yes, we do, too. Elder Sims is right. The argument becomes a hubbub of voices. Taylor. Putting down his basket. Now, I tell you a jail. Mrs. Taylor. Emerging from the store door, arms full of groceries, looking at her husband. Yeah, and if you don't shut up and get these rations home I'm gonna be worse on you than a jail and 6 judges. Pick up that basket and let's go. Tony meekly picks up the basket and he and his wife exit as the sound of an approaching guitar is heard off stage. 2 carelessly dressed, happy-go-lucky fellows enter together. One is fingering a guitar without playing any particular tune, and the other has his hat cocked over his eyes in a burlesque, dude-like manner. There are casual greetings. Walter. Hey, there, bums, how's tricks? Ligue. What yo sayin', boys? Hambo. Good evenin', sons. Ligue. How did you all make out this evenin', boys? Jim. Oh, them white folks at the party shelled out right well. Kept Dave busy pickin' it up. How much did we make today, Dave? Dave. Striking his pocket. I don't know, boy, but feels right heavy here. Kept me pickin' up money just like this. As Jim picks a few dance chords, Dave gives a dance imitation of how he picked up the coins from the ground as the white folks threw them. We counted after while. Woulda divided up with you already if you hadn't left me when you seen Daisy comin' by. Let's sit down on the porch and rest now. Ligue. She show is lookin' stylish and pretty since she come back with her white folks from up north. Wearin' the swellest clothes. And that coal-black hair of hers just won't quit. Mattie Clarke. In doorway. I don't see what the men's always hanging after Daisy Taylor for. Clarke. Turning around on the porch. You back here again. Who's tendin' that store? Mattie disappears inside. Dave. Well, she always did look like new money to me when she was here before. Jim. Well, that's all you ever did get was a look. Dave. That's all you know. I bet I get more than that now. Jim. You might get it, but I'm the man to use it. I'm a bottom fish. Dave. Ah, man. You must have been walking round here fast asleep when Daisy was in this county last. You ain't seen the go I had with her. Jim. No, I ain't seen it. Bet you didn't have no letter from her while she been away. Dave. Bet you didn't neither. Jim. Well, it's just 'cause she can't write. If she knew how to scratch with a pencil I'd had a ton of them. Dave. Shaw, man. I'd had a post office full of them. Old woman. You all ought to be shame, carrying on over a brazen heifer like Daisy Taylor. Just 'cause she's been up north and come back, I reckon you cutting the fool show enough now. She ain't studying, none of you all know how. All she wants is what you got in your pocket. Jim. I likes her, but she won't get nothin' out of me. She never did. I wouldn't give a poor consumpted cripple crab a crutch to cross the River Jordan. Dave. I know I ain't gonna give no woman nothin'. I wouldn't give a dog a donut if he treat a terrapin. Ligue. Use a cottontail dispute, both of you. You'd give her anything you got. You'd give her Georgia with a fence round it. Old man. Yeah, and she'd take it, too. Lindsay. Don't discriminate the woman like that. That ain't nothing but hogism. Ain't nothin' the matter with Daisy, she's all right. Enter Teets and Bootsy tittering coyly and switching themselves. Bootsy. Is you see my mama? Old woman. You know you ain't lookin' for no mama. Just come back down here to show your shape and fan around a while. Bootsy and Teets going into the store. Bootsy and Teets. No, we ain't. We se come to get our mail. Old woman. After girls enter store. Why don't you all keep up some attention to these nice girls here, Bootsy and Teets? They wants to marry. Dave. Ah, who thinkin' 'bout Marina now? They better stay home and eat their own pa's rations. I gotta buy myself some shoes. Jim. The woman I'm gonna marry ain't born yet and her ma is dead. Girls come out giggling and exit. Jim begins to strum his guitar lightly at first as the talk goes on. Clarke. To Dave and Jim. Two of the finest gals that ever lived and friendly just like you all is. You two boys better take 'em back and stop them shiftless ways. Hambo. Yeah, hurry up and do somethin'. I wants to taste a piece yo weddin' cake. Jim. Embarrassed but trying to be jocular. What you trying to rush me up so fast? Look at Will Cody here. Pointing to little man on porch. He been promising to bring his already wife down for 2 months, and ne'er one of us ain't seen her yet. Dave. Yeah, how you 'spect me to haul in a brand new wife when he can't lead a wagon broke wife 18 miles? Me, I'm going get one soon's Cody show me his en. General sly laughter at Cody's expense. Walter. Snaps his fingers and pretends to remember something. That's right, Cody. I been intending to tell you. I know where you kin buy a ready-built house for you and yo wife. Calls into the store. Hey, Clarke, Simon out here and tell Cody 'bout dat Bradley house. To Cody. I know you wants to get a place of yo own so you kin settle down. Hambo. He done moved so much since he been here till every time he walk out in his backyard his chickens lay down and cross they legs. Lindsay. Cody, I thought you told us you was going up to Sanford to bring dat Oman down here last Saturday. Ligue. That ain't the way he told me 'bout it. Look, fellers, getting up and putting one hand on his hips and one finger of the other hand against his chin coquettishly, where you reckon I'll be next Saturday night? Sittin' upside of Miss Cody. Great burst of laughter. Sykes Jones. Laughing. Know what de folks told me in Sanford? Dat was another man's wife. Guffaws. Cody. Feebly. Ah, you don't know what you talkin' 'bout. Jones. Nah, I don't know, but de folks in Sanford does. Laughing. Dey tell me when dat lady's husband come home Sat'day night, ol' Cody jumped out de window. De man grabbed his old repeater and run out in de yard to head him off. When Cody seen him come round de corner de house gesture, he flopped his wings and flew up on de fence. De man though wed dat shotgun dead on him. Laughs. Den, man. Cody flopped his wings like a buzzard gesture and sailed on off. De man dropped to his knees like this. Gesture of kneeling on one knee and taking aim. Die. 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 Supposedly sound of shots as the gun is moved in a circle following the course of Cody's supposed flight. Cody just flew right on off and lit on a hill 2 miles off. Then, man. Gesture of swift flight. In 10 minutes he was back here in Eatonville and in he bed. Walter. I passed there and seen his house shaken, but I didn't know how come. Hambo. Ah, leave the boy alone. If you don't look out, some of y'all going to have to break his record. Ligue. I'm prepared to break it now. General laughter. Jim. Well, anyhow, I don't want to marry and leave Dave, yet a while. Picking a chord. Dave. And I ain't gonna leave Jim. We been pawing around together ever since we hollered titty mama, ain't we, boy? Jim. Show is. Music of the guitar increases in volume. Dave shuffles a few steps and the two begin to sing. Jim. Rabbit on the log. I ain't got no dog. How am I gonna get him? God knows. Dave. Rabbit on the log. Ain't got no dog. Shoot him with my rifle. Bam. Bam. Some of the villagers join in song and others get up and march around the porch in time with the music. Bootsy and Teets re-enter, Teets sticking her letter down the neck of her blouse. Joe Lindsay grabs Teets and Walter Thomas grabs Bootsy. There is dancing, treating and general jollification. Little children dance the parsmila. The music fills the air just as the sun begins to go down. Enter Daisy Taylor coming down the road toward the store. Clarke. Bawls out from the store porch. "My God, there's Daisy again." Most of the dancing stops, the music slows down and then stops completely. Dave and Jim greet Daisy casually as she approaches the porch. Jim. "Well, Daisy, we knows you, too." Dave. "Gal, you's just as pretty as a speckled pup." Daisy. Giggling. "I see you two boys always playin' and singin' together. That music sounded right good floating down the road." Jim. "Yeah, child, we S.E. been playin' for the white folks all week. We S.E. playin' for the colored now." Dave. Showing off, twirling his dancing feet. "Yeah, we're standin' on our abstract and livin' on our income." Old man. Mump, but they ain't never workin'. Just round here playing as usual." Jim. "Some folks think you ain't workin' lessen you smellin' a mule." He sits back down on box and picks at his guitar. "Think you gotta be beatin' a man to his barn every mornin'." Voice. "Glad to be round home with we all again, ain't you Daisy?" Daisy. "Is I glad? I just got off special early this evenin' to come over here and see everybody. I was kinda 'fraid sundown would catch me 'fore I got round that lake. Don't know how I'm gonna walk back to my workin' place in the dark by meself." Dave. "Don't no girl as good lookin' as you is have to go home by herself tonight." Jim. "No, 'cause I'm here." Dave. To Daisy. Don't you trust yourself round that like wid all them gaiters and moccasins with that nigger there, Daisy. Pointing at Jim. He's just full of rabbit blood. What you need is a real man, with good feet. Cutting a dance step. Daisy. I ain't thinking about goin' home yet. I'm goin' in the store. Jim. What you want in the store? Daisy. I want some gum. Dave. Starting toward door. Girl, you don't have to go in there to get no gum. I'll go in there and buy you a carload of gum. What kind you want? Daisy. Bubble gum. Dave goes in the store with his hand in his pocket. The sun is setting and the twilight deepens. Jim. Pulling package out of his pocket and laughing. Here your gum, baby. What it takes to please the ladies, I totes it. I don't have to go get it, like Dave. What you gimme for it? Daisy. A bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck. She embraces Jim playfully. He hands her the gum, patting his shoulder as he sits on box. Oh, thank you. You's a ready man. Jim. Yeah, there's a lot of good parts to me. You can have West Tampa if you want it. Daisy. You always was a nice quiet boy, Jim. Dave. Emerging from the store with a package of gum. Here's your gum, Daisy. Jim. Oh, you's late. She's done got gum now. Chaw that yourself. Dave. Slightly peeved and surprised. Hun, you mighty fast here now with Daisy, but you wasn't that fast gettin' out of that white man's chicken house last week. Jim. Who you talkin' 'bout? Dave. Who-oh-oh? Facetiously. You ain't no owl. Your feet don't fit no limb. Jim. Ah, nigger, hush. Dave. Ah, hush, yourself. He walks away for a minute as Daisy turns to meet some newcomers. Dave throws his package of gum down on the ground. It breaks and several children scramble for the pieces. An old man, very drunk, carrying an empty jug enters on left and staggers tipsily across stage. Mayor Joe Clarke emerges from the store and looks about for his marshal. Clarke. Bellowing. Lumboger. Lumboger. Eating a stalk of cane. Yes, sir. Clarke. I God, Lum, take your lazy self off that keg and go light that town lamp. All summer long you eatin' up my melon, and all winter long you chawin' up my cane. What you think this town is payin' you for? Laying round here doin' nothin'? Can't you see it's gettin' dark? Lumboger rises lazily and takes the soap box down stage, stands on it to light the lamp, discovers no oil in it and goes in store. In a few moments he comes out of store, fills the lamp and lights it. Daisy. Coming back toward Jim. Ain't you all gonna play and sing a little somethin' for me? I ain't heard your all's music much for so long. Jim. Play anything you want, Daisy. Don't make no difference what 'tis I can pick it. Where's that old coon, Dave? Looking around for his partner. Ligue. Calling Dave, who is leaning against post at opposite end of porch. Come here, and get warmed up for Daisy. Dave. Ah, my throat's tired. Jim. Leave the baby be. Daisy. Come on, sing a little, Dave. Dave. Going back toward Jim. Well, seeing who's asking, all right. What song yo like, Daisy? Daisy. Lemme think. Voice on porch. Got on the train, didn't have no fare. Daisy. Gaily. Yes, that one. That's a good one. Jim. Begins to tune up. Dave touches Daisy's hand. Voice. In fun. Hun, you all wouldn't play at the hall last week when we asked you. Voice of spiteful old woman. Daisy wasn't here then. Another voice. Teasingly. All you got to do to some men is to shake a skirt tail in their face and they goes off their head. Dave. To Jim, who is still tuning up. Come if you're comin', boy, let's go if you gwine. The full melody of the guitar comes out in a lively, old-fashioned tune. Voice. All right now, boys, do it for Daisy just as good as you do for dem white folks over in Maitland. Dave and Jim. Beginning to sing. Got on the train. Didn't have no fare. But I rode some. I rode some. Got on the train. Didn't have no fare. But I rode some. But I rode some. Got on the train. Didn't have no fare. Conductor asked me what I'm doin' there. But I rode some. Grabbed me by the neck. And led me to the door. But I rode some. But I rode some. Grabbed me by the neck. And led me to the door. But I rode some. But I rode some. Grabbed me by the neck. And led me to the door. Rapped me cross the head with a 44. But I rode some. First thing I saw in jail was a pot of peas. But I rode some. But I rode some. First thing I saw in jail was a pot of peas. But I rode some. But I rode some. The peas was good. The meat was fat. Fell in love with the chain gang just for that. But I rode some. Dave acts out the song in dancing pantomime, and when it ends there are shouts and general exclamations of approval from the crowd. Voices. I don't blame them white folks for goin' crazy 'bout that. Old man. Oh, when I was a young boy I used to swing the gals round on that piece. Daisy. To Jim. Seem like your playin' gets better and better. Dave. Quickly. And how 'bout my singin'? Everybody laughs. Voices in the crowd. Ha. Ha. Oh, Dave's gettin' jealous when she speaks o' Jim. Jim. To Dave, in fun. Ain't nothin' to it but my playin'. You ain't got no singin' voice. If that's singin', God's a gopher. Dave. Half seriously. My singin' is a whole lot better'n your playin'. You just go along and fram. The reason why the white folks gives us money is 'cause I'm singin'. Jim. Yeah. Dave. And you can't dance. Voice in the crowd. You oughta dance. Big as your feet is, Dave. Daisy. Diplomatically. Both of you all is wonderful and I would like to see Dave dance a little. Dave. There now, I told you. What did I tell you? To Jim. Stop woofing and pick a little tune there so that I can show Daisy something. Jim. Pick a tune? I bet if you fool with me I'll pick your bones just like a buzzard did the rabbit. You can't sing and now you wants to dance. Dave. Yeah, and I'll lam your head. Come on and play, good for nothing. Jim. All right, then. You say you can dance, show these people what you can do. But don't bring that little stuff I've been seein' you doin' all these years. Jim plays and Dave dances, various members of the crowd keep time with their hands and feet, Daisy looks on enjoying herself immensely. Daisy. As Dave cuts a very fancy step. I ain't seen nothin' like this up north. Dave, you show hot. As Dave cuts a more complicated step the crowd applauds, but just as the show begins to get good, suddenly Jim stops playing. Dave. Surprised. What's the matter, buddy? Jim. Envious of the attention Dave has been getting from Daisy, disgustedly. Oh, nigger, I'm tired of seein' you cut the fool. Sides that, I been playin' all afternoon for the white folks. Daisy. But I though you was playin' for me now, Jim. Jim. Yeah, I'd play all night long for you, but I'm gettin' sick of Dave round here showin' off. Let him get somethin' and play for himself if he can. An old man with a lighted lantern enters. Daisy. Coyly. Well, honey, play some more for me, then, and don't mind Dave. I reckon he done danced enough. Play me, Shake That Thing. Old man with lantern. Sho, you ain't stopped, is you, boy? Music sound mighty good flowatin' down that dark road. Old woman. Yeah, Jim, go on play a little more. Don't get to acting so niggerish this evening. Dave. Ah, let the ol' darky alone. Nobody don't want to hear him play, nohow. I know I don't. Jim. Well, I'm gonna play. And he begins to pick, Shake That Thing. Teets and Bootsy begin to dance with Legay Mosley and Frank Warwick. As the tune gets good, Dave cannot resist the music either. Dave. Old nigger's evil but he sho can play. He begins to do a few steps by himself, then twirls around in front of Daisy and approaches her. Daisy, overcome by the music, begins to step rhythmically toward Dave and together they dance unobserved by Jim, absorbed in picking his guitar. Daisy. Look here, baby, at this new step I learned up north. Dave. You can show me anything, sugar lump. Daisy. Hold me tight now. But just as they begin the new movement Jim notices Daisy and Dave. He stops playing again and lays his guitar down. Voices in the crowd. Disgustedly. Ah, come on, Jim. You must be jealous. Jim. No, I ain't jealous. I just get tired of seein' that ol' nigger clownin' all the time. Dave. Laughing and pointing to Jim on porch. Look at that mad baby. Take that lip up off the ground. Got your mouth stuck out just because someone is enjoying themselves. He comes up and pushes Jim playfully. Jim. You better go ahead and let me alone. To Daisy. Come here, Daisy. Legay. That's just what I say. Niggers can't have no fun without someone getting mad, specially over a woman. Jim. I ain't mad. Daisy, 'scuse me, honey, but that fool, Dave. Dave. I ain't mad neither. Jim always tryin' to throw off on me. But you can't joke him. Daisy. Soothingly. Ah, now. Jim. You ain't jokin'. You means that, nigger. And if you tryin' to get hot, first thing, you can pull of my blue shirt you put on this morning. Dave. You's got that wrong. I ain't got on no shirt of yours. Jim. Yes, you is got on my shirt, too. Don't tell me you ain't got on my shirt. Dave. Well, even if I is, you can just lift your big plantations out of my shoes. You can just foot it home barefooted. Jim. You try to take any shoes off of me. Legay. Pacifying them. Ah, there ain't no use of all that. What you all want to start this quarreling for over a little jokin'. Jim. Nobody's quarreling. I'm just playin' a little for Daisy and Dave's out there clownin' with her. Clarke. In doorway. I ain't gonna have no fussin' round my store, no way. Shut up, you all. Jim. Well, Mayor Clarke, I ain't mad with him. We been friends all our lives. He slept in my bed and wore my clothes and eat my grub. Dave. I eat your grub. And many time as you done laid down with your belly full of my grandma's collard greens. You done eat my meat and bread a whole lot more times than I eat your stewed fish heads. Jim. I'd rather eat stewed fish heads than steal out of other folks' houses so much till you went to sleep on the roost and fell down one night and broke up the set tin hen. Loud laughter from the crowd. Dave. You's a liar if you say I stole anybody's chickens. I didn't have to. But you. For you started goin' around with me, playin' that little box of yours, you was so hungry you had the white mouth. If it wasn't for these white folks throwin' me money for my dancin', you would be thin as a whisper right now. Jim. Laughing sarcastically. You're dancin'. You been leapin' around here like a tailless monkey in a wash pot for a long time and nobody was payin' no 'tention to you, till I come along playing. Lindsay. Boys, that ain't no way for friends to carry on. Daisy. Well, if you all gonna keep up this quarrelin' and carryin' on, I'm goin' home. 'Bout time for me to be gittin' back to my white folks anyhow. It's dark now. I'm goin', even if I have to go by myself. I shouldn't 'a stopped by here nohow. Jim. Stopping his quarrel. You ain't gonna go home by yourself. I'm goin' with you. Dave. Singing softly. It may be so. I don't know. But it sounds to me like a lie. Walter. Dave ain't got as much rabbit blood as folks thought. Dave. Tell 'em 'bout me. Turns to Daisy. Won't you choose a treat on me, Miss Daisy, 'fore we go? Daisy. Coyly. Yes sir, thank you. I wants a drink of soda water. Dave pulls his hat down over his eyes, whirls around and offers his arm to Daisy. They strut into the store, Dave gazing contemptuously at Jim as he passes. Crowd roars with laughter, much to the embarrassment of Jim. Ligue. OL, fast Dave just runnin' the hog right over you, Jim. Walter. Thought you was such a hot man. Lumboger. Want me to go in there and put Daisy under arrest and bring her to you? Jim. Sitting down on the edge of porch with one foot on the step and lights a cigarette pretending not to be bothered. I'll get her when I want her. Let him treat her, but see who struts around that lake and down the railroad with her by and by. Dave and Daisy emerge from the store, each holding a bottle of red soda pop and laughing together. As they start down the steps, Dave accidentally steps on Jim's outstretched foot. Jim jumps up and pushes Dave back, causing him to spill the red soda all over his white shirt front. Jim. Stay off my foot, you big ox. Dave. Well, you don't have to wet me all up, do you, and me in company? Why don't you put your damn foot in your pocket? Daisy. Wiping Dave's shirt front with her handkerchief. Ain't that too bad? Jim. To Dave. Well, whose shirt did I wet? It's mine, anyhow, ain't it? Dave. Belligerently. Well, if it's your shirt, then you come take it off me. I'm tired of your lip. Jim. Well, I will. Dave. Well, put your fist where your lip is. Pushing Daisy aside. Daisy. Frightened. I want to go home. Now, don't you all boys fight. Jim attempts to come up the steps. Dave pushes him back and he stumbles and falls in the dust. General excitement as the crowd senses a fight. Little boy. On the edge of crowd. Fight, you're no kin. Kill one another, won't be no sin. Fight, you're no kin. Jim jumps up and rushes for Dave as the latter starts down the steps. Dave meets him with his fist squarely in the face and causes him to step backward, confused. Daisy. Still on porch, half crying. My lord. I want to go home. General hubbub, women's cries of, don't let 'em fight. Why don't somebody stop 'em? What kind of men is you all, sit there and let them boys fight like that? Men's voices urging the fight, let 'em fight. Go for him, Dave. Slug him, Jim. Jim makes another rush toward the steps. He staggers Dave. Dave knocks Jim sprawling once more. This time Jim grabs the mule-bone as he rises, rushes Dave, strikes Dave over the head with it and knocks him out. Dave falls prone on his back. There is great excitement. Old woman screams. Lottie, is he killed? Several men rush to the fallen man. Voice. Run down to the pump and get a dipper o' water. Clarke. To his wife indoor. Matty, come out of that store with a bottle of witch Hazley oil quick as you can. Jim Weston, I'm gonna arrest you for this. You lumboger. Where is that marshal? Lumboger. Lumboger detaches himself from the crowd. Arrest Jim. Lum. Grabs Jim's arm, relieves him of the mule-bone and looks helplessly at the mayor. Now I got him arrested, what's I going to do with him? Clarke. Lock him up back yonder in my barn till Monday when we'll have the trial in the Baptist church. Lindsay. Yeah, just like all the rest of the Methodists, always tryin' to take undercurrents on people. Walter. Ain't no worse than some of you Baptists, nohow. You all don't run this town. We got just as much to say as you have. Clarke. Angrily to both men. Shut up. Done had enough arguing in front of my place. To Lumboger. Take that boy on and lock him up in my barn. And save that mule-bone for evidence. Lumboger leads Jim off toward the back of the store. A crowd follows him. Other men and women are busy applying restoratives to Dave. Daisy stands alone, unnoticed in the center of the stage. Daisy. Worriedly. Now, who's gonna take me home? Curtain. Act. Chapter 2. Setting, village street scene, huge oak tree upstage center, a house or two on backdrop. When curtain goes up, Sister Lucy Taylor is seen standing under the tree. She is painfully spelling it out. Enter Sister Thomas, a younger woman in her 30s, at left. Sister Thomas. Evenin', Sis Taylor. Sister Taylor. Evenin'. Returns to the notice. Sister Thomas. What you doin'? Readin' dat notice Joe Clarke put up 'bout de meeting? Approaches tree. Sister Taylor. Is dat what it says? I ain't much on readin' since I had my teeth pulled out. You know if you pull out dem my teeth you ruins yo eyesight. Turns back to notice. What it say? Sister Thomas. Reading notice. The trial of Jim Weston for assault and battery on Dave Carter with a dangerous weapon will be held at Macedonia Baptist Church on Monday, November 10th, at 3 o'clock. All are welcome. By order of J. Clarke, Mayor of Eatonville, Florida. Turning to Sister Taylor. Hit's makin' on to 3 now. Sister Taylor. You mean it's right now? Looks up at sun to tell time. Lemme go get ready to be at the trial, 'cause I'm sho goin' to be there and I ain't goin' to bite my tongue neither. Sister Thomas. I done went and crapped a mess of collard greens for supper. I better go put 'em on, 'cause Lord knows when we goin' to get out of there and my husband is one of them dat's goin' ter eat don't care what happen. I bet if Judgment Day was to happen tomorrow he'd spec I orter fix him a bucket to carry long. She moves to exit, right. Sister Taylor. All men favors they guts, chilly. But what you think of all dis mess they got goin' on round here? Sister Thomas. I just think it's a sin and a shame befo de livin' justice de way dese Baptist niggers is runnin' round here carryin' on. Sister Taylor. Oh, they been puttin' out the brags ever since Saturday night 'bout what they goin' ter do to Jim. They thinks they runs this town. They tell me Rev. Childers preached a sermon on it yistiddy. Sister Thomas. Lord help us. He can't preachin', he look like 10 cents worth of have mercy let lone gittin' up dere tryin' to throw slams at us. Now all Elder Sims done was to explain to us our rights, what you think 'bout Joe Clarke runnin' round here talkin' up for these old Baptist niggers? Sister Taylor. De puzzle-gut rascal, we oughter have him up in conference and put him out de Methodist faith. He don't belong in there, wanter ton dat boy outta town for nothin'. Sister Thomas. But we all know how come he so hot to law Jim outta town, hits to dig de foundation out from under Elder Sims. Sister Taylor. What he wants do dat for? Sister Thomas. 'Cause he wants to be a God know-it-all and a God do-it-all and Sims is de onliest one in this town what will buck up to him. Enter Sister Jones, walking leisurely. Sister Jones. Hello, Hoyt, hello, Lucy. Sister Taylor. Goin' to de meetin'? Sister Jones. Done got my clothes on de line and I'm bound to be dear. Sister Thomas. Goin' ter testify for Jim? Sister Jones. Nah, I reckon, don't make such difference to me which way de drop fall. 'Tain't neither one of 'em much good. Sister Taylor. I know it. I know it, Ida. But dat ain't de point. De crow we wants to pick is we goin' ter set still and let dese Baptist tell us when to plant and when to pluck up? Sister Jones. Dat is something to think about when you come to think about it. Starts to move on. Guess I better go ahead, see y'all later and tell you straighter. Enter Elder Sims, right, walking fast, Bible under his arm, almost collides with Sister Jones as she exits. Sims. Oh, 'scuse me, Sister Jones. She nods and smiles and exits. How you do, Sister Taylor, Sister Thomas? Both. Good evenin', Elder. Sims. Show is a hot day. Sister Taylor. Yeah, de bear is walkin' de earth like a natural man. Sister Thomas. Reverend, look like you headed de wrong way. It's almost time for de trial and use all de dependence we got. Sims. I know it. I'm tryin' to find de marshal so we kin go after Jim. I wants a chance to talk with him a minute before court sets. Sister Taylor. I think he'll come clear. Sims. Proudly. I know it. Shakes the Bible. I'm goin' to law 'em from Genesis to Revelation. Sister Thomas. Give it to 'em, Elder. Wear 'em out. Sims. We se liable to have a new mayor when all dis dust settle. Well, I better scuffle on down de road. Exits, left. Sister Thomas. Lord, lemme gwan home and put de screens on. Looks off stage left. Here come Mayor Clarke now, with his belly set tin out in front of him like a cowcatcher. His name oughter be Mayor Belly. Sister Taylor. Arms akimbo. Just look at him. Tryin' to look like a Jigadier Brenneral. Enter Clarke hot and perspiring. They look at him coldly. Clarke. I God, de bear got me. Silence for a moment. How y'all feelin', ladies? Sister Taylor. Brother Mayor, I ain't one of these folks dat bite my tongue and bust my gall, what's inside got to come out. I can't see to my rest why you cloakin' in wid dese Baptist buzzards jinst yo own church. Mayor Clarke. I ain't cloakin' in wid none. I'm de mayor of dis whole town. I stands for de right and jinst de wrong, I don't care who it kill or cure. Sister Thomas. You think it's right to be runnin' dat boy off for nothin'? Clarke. I God. You call knockin' a man in the head wid a mule-bone nothin'? Nother thin', I done missed 9 of my best layin' hens. I ain't sayin' Jim got 'em, but different people has told me he buries a powerful lot of feathers in his backyard. I God, I'm a ruined man. He starts towards the right exit, but Lum Boger enters right. I God, Lum, I been lookin' for you all day. It's almost 3 o'clock. Hands him a key from his ring. Take dis key and go fetch Jim Weston on to the church. Lum. Have you got yo gavel from the lodge room? Clarke. I God, that's right, Lum. I'll go get it from the lodge room whilst you go get de Bone and de prisoner. Hurry up. You walk like dead lice droppin' off you. He exits right while Lum crosses stage towards left. Sister Taylor. Lum, Elder Sim's been huntin' you, he's gone on down, 'bout de barn. She gestures. Lum Boger. I reckon I'll overtake him. Exit left. Sister Thomas. I better go put de screens on. My husband will kill me if he don't find no supper ready. Here come Mrs. Blunt. She oughter feel like a penny's worth of have mercy wid all dis stink behind her daughter. Sister Taylor. Chilly, some folks don't care. They don't raise they chillin', they drags 'em up. God knows if dat Daisy was mine, I'd throw her down and put 100 lashes on her back wid a plow line. Here she come in de store Saturday night, acts coy and coquettish, burlesques daisies walk a ringing and a twisting. Enter Mrs. Blunt, left. Mrs. Blunt. How y'all sisters? Sister Thomas. Very well, Miss Blunt, how you? Mrs. Blunt. Oh, so. Mrs. Taylor. I'm kickin', but not high. Mrs. Blunt. Well, thank God you still on prayin' ground and in a Bible country. Me, I ain't so many today. De niggers got my Daisy's name all mixed up in dis mess. Mrs. Taylor. You mustn't mind dat, Sister Blunt. People just will talk. They's talkin' in New York and they's talkin' in Georgie and they's talkin' in Italy. Sister Thomas. Chilly, if you talk folkses talk, they'll have you in de graveyard or in Chattahoochee 1. You can't pay no 'tention to talk. Mrs. Blunt. Well, I know one thing. De man or women, chick or child, grizzly or gray, that tells me to my face anything wrong 'bout my chilly. I'm goin' to take my fist rolls up right sleeve and gestures with right fist and knock they teeth down they throat. She looks ferocious. Case y'all know I raised my Daisy right round my feet till I let her go up north last year with them white folks. I'd ruther her to be in de white folks' kitchen than walkin' de streets like some of dese girls round here. If I do say so, I done raised a lady. She can't help it if all dese men's get stuck on her. Mrs. Taylor. U.S.E. tellin' de truth, Sister Blunt. That's what I always say, don't confidence dese niggers. Do, they'll show put you in de street. Mrs. Thomas. Nah indeed, never syndicate wid niggers. Do, they will discriminate you. They'll be an anybody. You goin' to de trial, ain't you? Mrs. Blunt. Just as show as you snore. And they'd better leave Daisy's name outta dis, too. I done told her to come straight home from her work. Nah, she had to stop by dat store and skin her gums back wid dem trashy niggers. She better not leave them white folks today to come traipsin' over here scornin' her name all up wid dis nigger mess. Do, I'll kill her. No daughter of mine ain't goin' to do as she please, long as she live under the sound of my voice. She crosses to right. Mrs. Thomas. That's right, Sister Blunt. I glory in yo spunk. Lord, I better go put on my supper. As Mrs. Blunt exits, right, Reverend Childers enters left with Dave and Deacon Lindsay and Sister Lewis. Very hostile glances from Sisters Thomas and Taylor toward the others. Childers. Good evenin', folks. Sisters Thomas and Taylor just grunt. Mrs. Thomas moves a step or two towards exit. Flirts her skirts and exits. Lindsay. Angrily. What's the matter, y'all? Cat got yo tongue? Mrs. Taylor. More matter than you kin scatter all over Cincinnati. Lindsay. Go head on, Lucy Taylor. Go head on. You know a very little of yo, sugar sweetens my coffee. Go, head on. Every time you lift yo arm you smell like a nest of yellow hammers. Mrs. Taylor. Go, head on yourself. Yo, head look like it done wore out 3 bodies. Talkin' about me smellin', you smell like a nest of granddaddies yourself. Lindsay. Rock on down the road, Oman. Don't want to change words wid ya. You's too ugly. Mrs. Taylor. You ain't nobody's pretty baby, yourself. You so ugly I betcha yo wife have to spread a sheet over yo head to let sleep slip up on ya. Lindsay. Threatening. You better get way from me while you able. I done tole you I don't want to break a breath wid you. It's a whole heap better to walk off on yo own legs than it is to be toted off. I'm tired of yo achin' round here. You fool wid me now and I'll knock you into doll rags, Tony or no Tony. Mrs. Taylor. Jumping up in his face. Hit me. Hit me. I dare you to hit me. If you take dat dare, you'll steal a hog and eat his hair. Lindsay. Lemme gwan down to dat church befo you make me stomp you. He exits, right. Mrs. Taylor. You mean you'll get stomped? I'm goin' to the trial, too. The next trial goin' ter be me for kickin' some you Baptist niggers around. A great noise is heard off stage left. The angry and jeering voices of children. Mrs. Taylor looks off left and takes a step or two towards left exit as the noise comes nearer. Voice of one child. Tell her. Tell her. Turn her up and smell her. Yo, mama ain't got nothin' to do wid me. Mrs. Taylor. Hollering off left. You lil Baptist Haitians leave them chillin' alone. If you don't, you better. Enter about 10 children struggling and wrestling in a bunch. Mrs. Taylor looks about on the ground for a stick to strike the children with. Voice of child. Hey. Hey. He's scared to knock it off. Coward. Mrs. Taylor. If y'all don't get on home. Sassy little girl. Standing akimbo. I know you better not touch me, do my mama will tend to you. Mrs. Taylor. Making as if to strike her. Shet up you nasty lil heifer, sassin' me. You ain't half raised. The little girl shakes herself at Mrs. Taylor and is joined by 2 or 3 others. Mrs. Taylor. Walkin' towards right exit. I'm goin' on down to the church and tell yo mammy. But she ain't been half raised herself. She exits right with several children making faces behind her. One boy. To sassy girl. Haw. Y'all ol' Baptists ain't got no bookcase in yo, Chuck. We went there one day and I saw a soda cracker box set tin up in the corner so I set down on it. Pointing at sassy girl. Know what ol' Mariella say? Jeering laughter. Willie, you get up off our library. Haw. Mariella. Y'all ol' Methodists ain't got no window panes in yo ol' church. Another girl. Takes center of stand, hands akimbo and shakes her hips. I don't care what y'all say, I'm a Methodist bred'n, a Methodist born'n, when I'm dead there'll be a Methodist gone. Mariella. Snaps fingers under other girl's nose and starts singing. Several join her. Oh Baptist, Baptist is my name. My name's written on high. I got my lick in the Baptist church. Goin' ter eat up the Methodist pie. The Methodist children jeer and make faces. The Baptist camp make faces back. For a full minute there is silence while each camp tries to outdo the other in face making. The Baptist makes the last face. Methodist boy. Come on, less us don't notice them. Let's gwan down to the church and hear the trial. Mariella. Y'all ain't the onliest ones kin go. We goin' 2. Willie. Haw. Copycats. Makes face. That's right. Follow on behind us like a puppy dog tail. They start walking toward right exit, switching their clothes behind. That's right. Follow on behind us like a puppy dog tail. They start walking toward right exit, switching their clothes behind. Baptist children stage a rush and struggle to get in front of the Methodists. They finally succeed in flinging some of the Methodist children to the ground and some behind them and walk towards right exit haughtily switching their clothes. Willie whispers to his crowd. "Let's go round by Mosley's lot and beat 'em there." Others. "All right." Willie yellin' to Baptists. "We wouldn't walk behind no old Baptists." The Methodists turn and walk off towards left exit, switching their clothes as the Baptists are doing. Slow curtain. Act. Chapter 3. Setting, a high stretch of railroad track through a luxurious Florida forest. It is near sundown. Action, when the curtain rises there is no one on the stage, but there is a tremendous noise and hubbub off stage right. There are yells of derision and shouts of anger. Part of the mob is trying to keep Jim in town, and part is driving him off. After a full minute of this, Jim enters with his guitar hanging around his neck and his coat over his shoulder. The sun is dropping low and red through the forest. He is looking back angrily and shouting at the mob. A missile is thrown after him. Jim drops his coat and guitar and grabs up a piece of brick, and makes threatening gestures of throwing it. Jim, running back the way he came and hurling the brick with all his might. "I'll kill some o' you old box-ankled niggers." Grabs up another piece of brick. "I'm out o' your old town. Now just let some of you old half-pint Baptists let yo' wooden God and cornstalk Jesus fool you into hittin' me." Threatens to throw again. There are some frightened screams and the mob is heard running back. "I'm glad I'm out o' yo' old town anyhow. I ain't never comin' back no mo' neither. You ol' ugly rump niggers done ruined de town anyhow." There is complete silence off stage. Jim walks a few steps with his coat and guitar, then sits down on the railroad embankment facing the audience. He pulls off one shoe and pours the sand out. He holds the shoe in his hand a moment and looks wistfully back down the railroad track. Jim. "Lord, folks' show is deceitful." He puts on the shoe and looks back down the track again. "I never woulda thought people woulda acted like that." Laces up the shoe. "Specially Dave Carter, much as me and him done progged round together goin' in swimmin' and playin' ball and serenadin' de girls and de white folks." He sits there gloomily silent for a while, then looks behind him and picks up his guitar and begins to pick a tune. The music is very sad, but he trails off into, "You may leave and go to Halifax, but my slow drag will bring you back." When he finishes he looks at the sun and picks up his coat. "Jim. Reckon I better git on down de road and git somewhere. Lord knows where." Stops suddenly in his tracks and turns back toward the village. Takes a step or two. "All dat mess and stink for nothin'. Dave no good'n, well I didn't meant to hurt him much." He takes off his cap and scratches his head thoroughly. Then turns again and starts on down the road left. Enter Daisy, left, walking fast and panting, her head down. They meet. Daisy. "Oh, hello, Jim." A little surprised and startled. Jim. Not expecting her. "Hello, Daisy." Embarrassed silence. Daisy. "I was just coming over town to see how you come out." Jim. "You don't have to go way over there to find dat out, you and Dave done got me run out of town for nothin'." Daisy. Putting her hand on his arm. "Dey didn't run you out of town, did dey?" Jim. Shaking her hand off. "What you reckon I'm countin' Mr. Railroad's ties for, just to find out how many ties between here and Orlando? Daisy. Hand on his arm again. Dey can't run you off like dat. Jim. Take yo' hands off me, Daisy. How come they can't run me off wid you and Davin, everybody jinxed me. Daisy. I ain't opened my mouth gainst you, Jim. I ain't said one word. I wasn't even at de old trial. My madam wouldn't let me get off. I was just comin' to see 'bout you now. Jim. Go head on. You figured I was gone too long to talk about. You was haulin' it over to town to see Dave, dat's what you was doin', after gettin' me all messed up. Daisy. Making as if to cry. I wasn't studyin' 'bout no Dave. Jim. Hopefully. Don't tell me. Sings. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, show me a woman that a man can trust. Daisy is crying now. Jim. What you crying for? You know you love Dave. I'm yo' monkey man. He always could do more wid you that I could. Daisy. Nah, you ain't no monkey man neither. I don't want you to leave town. I didn't want y'all to be fightin' over me, nohow. Jim. Rock on down de road wid dat stuff. A two-timmin' cloaker like you don't care what come off. Me and Dave been good friends ever since we was born till you had to go flouncing yourself around. Daisy. What did I do? All I did was to come over town to see you and get a mouthful of gum. Next thing I know y'all is fighting and carrying on. Jim. Stands silent for a while. Did you come over there Saturday night to see me show nuff, sugar babe? Daisy. Everybody could see dat but you. Jim. Just like I told you, Daisy, before you ever left from round here and went up north. I could kiss you every day, just as regular as pig tracks. Daisy. And I told you I could stand it too, just as regular as you could. Jim. Catching her by the arm and pulling her down with him onto the rail. Set down, here, Daisy. Let's talk some chat. You want me show nuff? Homes to God? Daisy. Coyly. 'Member what I told you out on the lake last summer? Jim. Show nuff, Daisy? Daisy nods smilingly. Jim. Sadly. But I got to go way. What we goin' ter do 'bout dat? Daisy. Where you goin', Jim? Jim. Looking sadly down the track. God knows. Off stage from the same direction from which Jim entered comes the sound of whistling and tramping of feet on the ties. Jim. Brightening. Dat's Dave. Frowning. Wonder what he doin' walkin' dis track. Looks accusingly at Daisy. I bet he's goin' to yo' workplace. Daisy. What for? Jim. He ain't goin' to see de madam, must be goin' to see you. He starts to rise petulantly as Dave comes upon the scene. Daisy rises also. Dave. Looks accusingly from one to the other. What y'all jumpin' up for? Jim. What you got to do wid us business? Tain't none of yo' business if we stand up, set down or fly like a skeeter hawk. Dave. Who said I keered? Dis railroad belongs to de man, I can walk it good as you, can't I? Jim. Laughing exultantly. Oh, yeah, Mr. Do Dirty. You figured you had done run me on off so you could get Daisy all by yourself. You was headin' right for her workplace. Dave. I wasn't no such a thing. Jim. You was. Didn't I hear you coming down the track all whistling and everything? Dave. You's a big ol' Geargy something ain't so. I done got my belly full of Daisy Saturday night. She can't snore in my ear no more. Daisy. Indignantly. What you come here low-rattin' me for, Dave Carter? I ain't done nothin' to you but treat you white. Who come rubbed yo' ol' head for you yestiddy if it wasn't me? Dave. Yeah, you rubbed my head all right, and I lacted dat. But everybody say you done toted a pan to Joe Clarke's barn for Jim before I seen you. Daisy. Think I was going to let Jim lay there 'thout nothing fittin' for a dog to eat? Dave. That's all right, Daisy. If you want to pay Jim for knockin' me in the head, all right. But I'm a man in a class to myself and nobody knows my name. Jim. Snatching Daisy around to face him. Was you over to Dave's house yestiddy rubbing his ol' head and cloaking wid him to run me out of town, and me looked up in dat barn wid de cows and mules? Daisy. Sobbing. All both of y'all hollerin' at me and fussin' me just 'cause I tries to be nice, and neither one of y'all don't care nothin' 'bout me. Both boys glare at each other over Daisy's head and both try to hug her at the same time. She violently wrenches herself away from both and makes as if to move on. Daisy. Leave me go. Take yo' rusty pams offen me. I'm going on back to my workplace. I just got off to see 'bout y'all and look how y'all treat me. Jim. Wait a minute, Daisy. I love you like God loves Gabriel, and that's his best angel. Dave. Daisy, I love you harder than the thunder can bump a sump, if I don't. God's a gopher. Daisy. Brightening. That's the first time you ever said so. Dave and Jim. Who? Jim. What you hollering, who, for? Yo, fat don't fit no limb. Dave. Speak when you spoken to, come when you called, next fall you'll be my coonhound dog. Jim. Tabled dat discussion. Turning to Daisy. You ain't never give me no chance to talk wid you right. Dave. You made me feel like you was trying to put the Ned book on me all the time. Do you love me sho nuff, Daisy? Daisy. Blooming again into coquetry. Ah, y'all better stop dat. You know you don't mean it. Dave. Who don't mean it? Lemme tell you something, mama, if you was mine I wouldn't have you counting no ties wid yo, pretty lil toes. Know what I'd do? Daisy. Coyly. Nah, what would you do? Dave. I'd buy you a whole passenger train, and hire some mens to run it for you. Daisy. Happily. Ooh, Dave. Jim. To Dave. De wind may blow, de doorway slam. Dat shut you shootin' ain't worth a damn. To Daisy. I'd buy you a great big ol' ship, and then, baby, I'd buy you a ocean to sail yo' ship on. Daisy. Happily. Ooh, Jim. Dave. To Jim. A long tane, a short caboose. Dat lie what you shootin' ain't no use. To Daisy. Miss Daisy, know what I'd do for you? Daisy. Nah, what? Dave. I'd come down the river riding a mud cat and loading a minnow. Daisy. Lawd, Dave, you show is propaganda. Jim. Peevishly. Nah he ain't, he's just lying, he's a noble liar. Know what I'd do if you was mine? Daisy. Nah, Jim. Jim. I'd make a panther wash YL dishes and a gator chop yo wood for you. Dave. Daisy, how come you let Jim lie like dat? He's as big as a liar as he is a man. But show nuff now, laying all sides to jokes, Jim there don't even know how to answer you. If you don't believe it, AST him something. Daisy. To Jim. You like me much, Jim? Jim. Enthusiastically. Yeah, Daisy I sho do. Dave. Triumphant. See dat. I told you he didn't know how to answer nobody like you. If he was talking to some of them funny-looking gals over town, he'd be answering just right. But he got to learn how to answer you. Now you ask me something and see how I answer you. Daisy. Do you like me, Dave? Dave. Very properly in a falsetto voice. Yes, ma'am. That's the way to answer swell folks like you. Furthermore, less we prove which one of us love you do best right now. To Jim. Jim, how much time would you do on the chain gang for dis Oman? Jim. 20 years and like it. Dave. See dat, Daisy? Dat nigger ain't willin' to do no time for you. I'd beg the judge to gimme life. Both Jim and Dave laugh. Daisy. Y'all doin' all dis bukuin' out here on the railroad track, but I bet y'all crazy 'bout Bootsy and Teets and a whole heap of other gals. Jim. Cross my feet and hope to die. I'd ruther see all the other vimmen folks in the world dead than for you to have the toothache. Dave. If I was dead and any other woman come near my coffin, the undertaker would have to do his job all over. 'Cause I'd get right up and walk off. Furthermore, Miss Daisy, ma'am, also ma'am, which would you ruther be, a lark a flying or a dove a settin, ma'am, also ma'am? Daisy. Course I'd ruther be a dove. Jim. Miss Daisy, ma'am, also ma'am, if you marry dis nigger over my head, I'm going to get me a green hickory club and season it over yo head. Dave. Don't you be skeered, baby, Papa kin take care of you. To Jim. Countin' from the finger suiting the action to the word back to the thumb, start anything I got you some. Jim. I don't want no more fight wid you, Dave. Dave. Who said anything about fighting? We just provin' who love Daisy the best. To Daisy. Now, which one of us you think love you the best? Daisy. Deed I don't know, Dave. Dave. Baby, I'd walk the water for you, and tote a mountain on my head while I'm walkin'. Jim. Know what I'd do, honey babe? If you was 1,000 miles from home and you didn't have no ready-made money and you had to walk all the way, walkin', till ye feet start to rolling, just like a wheel. And I was riding way up in the sky, I'd step backwards off a dat aeroplane just to walk home with you. Daisy. Falling on Jim's neck. Jim, when you talk to me like dat I just can't stand it. Let's us get married right now. Jim. Now you talkin' like a blueback speller. Let's go. Dave. Sadly. You goin' ter leave me lak dis, Daisy? Daisy. Sadly. I likes you, too, Dave, I sho do. But I can't marry both of y'all at the same time. Jim. Come on, Daisy, sun's gettin' low. He starts off pulling Daisy. Dave. What's I'm goin' ter do? Walking after them. Jim. Gwan back and dance, you make out you don't need me to play none. Dave. Almost tearfully. Jim, shucks. Where y'all going? Daisy comes to an abrupt halt and stops Jim. Daisy. That's right, honey. Where is we goin', sho 'nuff? Jim. Sadly. Deed I don't know, baby. They just sentenced me to go, they didn't say where and I don't know. Daisy. How we goin' know how to go when we don't know where we goin'? Jim looks at Dave as if he expects some help, but Dave stands sadly silent. Jim takes a few steps forward as if to go on. Daisy makes a step or two, unwillingly, then looks behind her and stops. Dave looks as if he will follow them. Daisy. Jim. He stops and turns. Wait a minute. What we goin' ter do when we get there? Jim. Where? Daisy. Where we goin'? Jim. I done tole you I don't know where it is. Daisy. But how we goin' ter get something to eat and a place to stay? Jim. Play and dance, just like I been doin'. Daisy. You can't dance and Dave ain't goin' ter be there. Jim. Looks appealingly at Dave, then away quickly. Well, I can't help dat, can I? Daisy. Brightly. I tell you what, Jim. Less us don't go nowhere. They sentenced you to leave Eatonville and use more than a mile from the city limits already. You's in Maitland now. Supposin' you come live on the white folks' place wid me after we get married. Eatonville ain't got nothin' to do wid you livin' in Maitland. Jim. Dat a good idea, Daisy. Daisy. Jumping into his arms. And listen, honey, you don't have to be beholden to Dave nor nobody else. You can throw dat ol' box away if you want to. I know you can get a swell job. Jim. Sheepishly. Doin' what? Looks lovingly at his guitar. Daisy. Almost dancing. Yard man. All you have to do is wash windows, and sweep the sidewalk. And scrub off the steps and porch and hoe up the weeds and rake up the leaves and dig a few holes now and then with a spade, to plant some trees and things like that. It's a good steady job. Jim. After a long deliberation. You see, Daisy, de mayor and corporation told me to go on off and I oughter go. Daisy. Well, I'm not going tippin' down no railroad track like a Maltese cat. I wasn't brought up knockin' round from here to yonder. Jim. Well, I wasn't brought up with no spade in my hand, and ain't going to start it now. Daisy. But sweetheart, we got to live, ain't we? We got to get hold of money before we kin do anything. I don't mean to stay in the white folks' kitchen all my days. Jim. Yeah, all dat's true, but you couldn't buy a waltzing jacket wid the money I'm going to make wid a hoe and spade. Daisy. Getting tearful. You don't want me. You don't love me. Jim. Yes, I do, darling, I love you. You's the one letting a spade come between us. He caresses her. I loves you and you only. You don't see me dragging a whole gang of farming tools into us business, do you? Daisy. Stiffly. Well, I ain't going to marry no man that ain't going to work and take care of me. Jim. I don't mind working if the job ain't too heavy for me. I ain't going to bother with nothin' in my hands heavier than dis box, and I totes it round my neck most of the time. Daisy makes a despairing gesture as Jim takes a step or two away from her. She turns to Dave finally. Daisy. Well, I reckon you loves me the best anyhow. You wouldn't talk to me like Jim did, would you, Dave? Dave. Nah, I wouldn't say what he said at all. Daisy. Cuddling up to him. What would you say, honey? Dave. I'd say dat box was too heavy for me to fool wid. I wouldn't tote nothing heavier than my hat and I feel like I'm bussing myself sometime totin' dat. Daisy. Outraged. Don't you mean to work none? Dave. Wouldn't hit a lick at a snake. Daisy. I don't blame you, Dave, looks down at his feet cause toting dem feet of yourn is enough to break down your constitution. Jim. Airily. That's all right, dem foots done put plenty bread in our mouths. Dave. Not by theyselves though, wid the help of dat box, Jim. When you gets having fits on dat box, boy, my foots has hysterics. Daisy, you marry Jim cause I don't want to come between y'all. He's my buddy. Jim. Come to think of it, Dave, she was yourn first. You take and handle dat spade for her. Dave. You heard her say it is all I can do to lift up dese feets and put em down. Where I'm going to get any time to wrastle wid any hoes and shovels. You kin get round better'n me. You done one Daisy. I give in. I ain't going to bite no friend of mine in the back. Daisy. Both of you niggers can get yo hat and yo heads and get on down the road. Neither one of y'all don't have to have me. I got a good job and plenty men beggin' for yo chance. Jim. Dat's right, Daisy, you go get you one them men's what don't mind smelling mules, and beating the white folks to the barn every morning. I don't want to be bothered with nothin' but dis box. Dave. And I can't strain with nothin' but my feets. Daisy walks slowly away in the direction from which she came. Both watch her a little wistfully for a minute. The sun is setting. Dave. Guess I better be gittin' on back, it's most dark. Where you goin', Jim? Jim. I don't know, Dave. Down the road, I reckon. Dave. Wincher come on back to town. Tain't no use you progain up and down the railroad track when you got a home. Jim. They done lawed me way from it for hittin' you wid dat bone. Dave. Dat ain't nothin'. It was my head you hit. And, if I don't care what dem old ugly rump niggers got to do wid it? Jim. They might not let me come in town. Dave. Seizing Jim's arm and facing him back toward the town. They better. Look here, Jim, if they try to keep you out dat town will go out to dat swamp and get us a mule-bone apiece and come into town and boil dat stew down to a low gravy. Jim. You mean dat, Dave? Dave nods his head eagerly. Us wasn't mad wid one another nohow. Belligerently. Come on, le's go back to town. Dem mallet heads better leave me be, too. Picks up a heavy stick. I wish Lum would come tellin' me 'bout de law when I got all dis law in my hands. And de rest dem gator-faced jigs, if they ain't got a whole sto mule bones and a good determination, they better not bring no mess up. Come on, boy. They start back together toward town, Jim picking a dance tune on his guitar, and Dave cutting steps on the ties beside him, singing, prancing and happily, they exit, right? As the curtain falls.